Members, the question is that the motion be agreed to. I call Puto Williams.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I too take pleasure at reading the first reading of the Royal New Zealand Foundation of the Blind Act Repeal Bill. Mr Speaker, I want to spend a few moments just going over some of the heritage that what we now know as the Blind Foundation has brought to this country. We know that the Blind Foundation began in 1890 and that it was actually called the Jubilee Institute for the Blind, and it provided services for people who were blind or had low vision. And as the previous speaker has already said, it's enjoyed 126 years of connecting Kiwis who are blind or who have low vision to expert services, often delivered by their peers, so that they can gain training and tips and abilities to deal with their blindness and achieve their potential, and that's a very worthwhile aim. The first formal service of the foundation was actually a school and a residence in Parnell, and we all are familiar with the Parnell facility. But at that time, they delivered sheltered employment, workshops and residential programs. But over the course of time, of course, as the desire to give greater integration into the community has imposed different sets of values, this of course has meant that the workshops, the hostels and the other institutional activities have been gradually withdrawn. Of course, the Royal New Zealand Foundation of the Blind Act 2002 brought another turning point for the foundation, and they finally were able to formally recognise themselves as an organisation accountable to those people living with blindness and low vision. The board are elected from people who are impacted by blindness or low vision. So why did they take the step of becoming an incorporated society as they did on the 12th of January 2012? Well, primarily because they deliver services to their members. And the services that they deliver to their members, Mr Speaker, include such things as adaptive daily living and adaptive communications and technology. They deliver peer support, counselling, employment opportunities, and there's no doubt that we all know that the service that they provide in supporting accessibility through their guide dogs. We also know that they offer some very specialised services for example, for children and young people, for people who are deaf and blind, and they do particularly good work with Māori and Pacific communities. I know, I have a cousin who is blind who has received some particularly good support through the Blind Foundation. But there is another reason, of course, to become an incorporated society, and that is because they are membership-based. It provides accountability and an equity of accountability across the membership. So it is becoming an incorporated society is a convenient way where associations, where groups of people of similar interests, whether it be, as in this case, or sporting interests, or particular leisure pastimes, or professional groups, can group together and have shared values and vision. It also means that the properties, the assets, whatever may be, the ongoing development could be of a proprietary nature, remains the property of the society. So there is some longevity and some future proofing built into the society so that it can retain its assets. And of course, being a member, you are subject to member fees. But there is also, and I just want to add a note of caution, there is also some downfalls, I guess, or some aspects of being an organisation like this that could cause some challenges. One of the challenges I want to talk about through the wider community sector could be the pressure that is imposed upon some organisations when it comes to advocating on behalf of the people and the causes that they serve. And sometimes that can impact on their ability to gain government contract funding. There are quite high levels of accountability that are required in reporting, and that is a good thing. But there is also a level of resource that's required to ensure that the organisations can meet those higher standards of accountability and reporting. There's also a very competitive nature when it comes to tendering for contracts and for funding. And the requirements of outcome-based measurements and reporting, again, a good thing in terms of being able to be very clear about the types of results that you are achieving with your funding dollar. But again, as I say, they are resource intensive. And it can be sometimes hard to attract the type of calibre of person to sit on your governance boards that you require. And with the Blind Foundation being very clear that that their leadership come from within their own membership group, it does require some support around building capacity into that group. So this bill will actually ensure that the Act, which is now defunct, ceases, is removed from the statutes because the Foundation is no longer a statutory body. The repeal of the Act means that the Foundation itself can be completely independent from Parliament, and the Foundation can see that its members will take the final step to that full member governance and self-determination that they require. There is also one other aspect of this bill that is of importance, and that is around copyright when it comes to the matters of Braille. And under certain conditions, published material can be copied into Braille for use by people with a vision impairment without infringing the copyright. And that is as it should be, and I'm pleased that that is a provision within this bill. Mr. Speaker, there is not much more to say on this bill. It does complete a circle, I guess, in a sense, for the Blind Foundation. It is necessary to tidy up its status and ensure that we don't have statutes on the books that are no longer fit for purpose. And in that regard, Mr. Speaker, I commend the bill to the House. Thank you.
Good. Simon O'Connor.